So yeah, I have actually made the decision to Nah, gotcha, just joking. I'm in the best seat in the world, come in. So yeah, I'm actually starting a YouTube channel. I never thought I'd be doing this, but here we are. We are going to discuss why I left London and came to Dubai, and I left boxing as well after 10 years, which gave me an amazing life and career. But before we get into all that, I'm just going to bore you a little bit and take you around my apartment here in JVC in Dubai. So come through. We might as well show you around. Here's the living room, living space. This will be a really quick tour. The TV, as you see, I've got the Zone on, the global home of boxing.
So I didn't actually bring many items with me from London to Dubai, but these two I thought I'd bring along with me. So the plaque I got for reaching 100,000 subscribers with BoxNation, YouTube sent me that. And then I bought a hat from Canelo Crawford as well, just because it was probably one of the most famous, significant fights I went to in my time in boxing over the last 10 years. So yeah.
This is a bit more living space, kitchen area. We got balcony out here as well with a really good space actually. I'll bring you through here. Come through. Here is the main bathroom. And this is the bedroom. This is where I sleep. Actually want to mention in here, I've got a lot of clothes. And I want to mention this because 85% of this wardrobe, or these two wardrobes actually, in here as well, are on, and I want to give them a massive shout out. I'm going to put the pop-up on the screen of this, but they basically gave me around £1,000 voucher to come and spend on clothes before I came to Dubai. So a big shout out to Arn. I've been shopping there since day dot and I love the stuff, it's the best. I'm actually gonna mention why I chose JVC over a few other areas as well. We're gonna jump in a car, literally now, we've got a few places to be, so the serious stuff will come in a second. This was just an apartment tour. Done?
All right, launch episode.
Yeah.
How are we feeling?
This is strange because I've been for the last 10 years filming, but other people, right?
Right.
I have done some things where I've gone on live stream and been on camera. I'm absolutely fine with it, but 85, 90% of my stuff's been behind camera and about someone else.
Right.
So I feel like hopefully I can give some value in this video, but moving forwards, this YouTube channel will not be about me. We're gonna be involving some world-class fighters, which is really exciting for me. We're going to be bringing in sort of luxury real estate, and there's going to be a huge focus on real estate. And then we're going to add some glitz and glamour on top of that with some nice restaurants, some nice watches. So we're in a very nice car. So that's going to be the gist of the YouTube channel. It's going to be something completely different from a boxing point of view. And I'm very, very excited about it and been working on it literally since I got to Dubai. Day one, the idea entered my head. And as I said, this episode, or I don't even want to call it an episode, this introduction is a one-off. This is not how it's going to be. Normally, it's going to be about someone else and me doing what I do best, I think, is interviewing, not talking about myself. But we're just going to give it a go for today. That's what I want to get out. And look, we'll be doing 2 or 3 hours of filming with the fighter. So across that, we'll be creating a 45-minute episode. We'll obviously do some short form clips of them as well from the episode, but within that 45-minute episode, I'm hoping that fight fans can really learn something about that fighter that they didn't know before, or just get a better understanding of them. So then when they watch them fight, they've got more of an attachment, they know more about their story. And obviously for the promoters, the respective promoter as that fighter, it's brilliant for them because there's more eyeballs on them, their earning capacity, their profile goes up, their visibility. So yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to use the last 10 years of my experience with a lot of these guys that I've known for 10 years, 7 years, 8 years, been interviewing them, to really, you know, have a natural conversation. It's not like I'm meeting most of these guys for the first time. Obviously, when it comes to the celebrities and the non-boxing people, yes, that'll be slightly different for me, having them in this car and going to different venues and interviewing them for the first time. And that is also exciting for me. As I said, this is open to other guests as well, just not boxers and people from the fight world, but the core will be people from boxing. In a year's time, I'd like it to be established with a brand and with some really credible people on, not just from the fight world, but this is open to celebrities, entrepreneurs, successful businessmen, other sports people. However, my passion, my life is boxing. Boxing has given me so much over the last 10 years. I'm a pure fight fan, so the majority of the content is going to be based around fighters. Now, we're not necessarily going to be actually talking hugely about boxing as such. Of course, I'm going to touch with the fighters about their career and about boxing and sort of news topics perhaps, but this is not going to be a news channel. You know, if there's a massive story in the world of boxing, of course, as I said, we'll speak to that fighter or individual if it's appropriate, but this is not a news channel. There is a place for news channels. I've done that for the last 10 years. But this is more about showcasing the fighters' real personality for themselves in sort of luxury settings where they can come across to fans across the globe in a natural way, rather than a 5-minute quick interview at a press conference where you're tarnishing someone else. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I've been doing it for 10 years. That was my job, and there's a space for that. It's very important in boxing. But I think we can get more out of fighters, and that's why I ejected. 10 years, yeah. They flew by, to be honest. So like I remember my first interview very vividly, and everything in between, not so much. My first interview was in North London with Don Charles, famous for being trainer of Derek Chisora and more recently trainer of Daniel Dubois. Obviously knocked out Anthony Joshua, beat Filip Hrgović to become heavyweight world champion. That was all under Don Charles's reign. And Daniel actually left Don and has gone back to Don now. And Daniel's got a huge fight coming up against Fabio Wardley, challenging for the world title with Don Charles in his corner. But back to Don Charles, he's been like a father figure to me in boxing. I'm going to obviously speak about Frank Warren and the relationship I had with him and I still have with him, and how instrumental he was. But aside from that,
voice note you had with him, that's incredible.
yeah, I can play that actually. I put it out on my socials, but let me just get that up.
I hope you're well, my son. Let's try and get you and I going have a bit of lunch before Christmas and before you get off. I'd love to take you out for a bite to eat. Mate, you look after yourself, and you know anything you ever hear or everything I can ever do, I'm always here for you. God bless you.
So yeah, so when I came to Dubai, or just before I left London actually, he just voice started me saying, we'll go for a bite to eat. And he said anything I ever need or whatever, which I really appreciated from him, because he doesn't have to do that I can contact him, speak to him, whatever it is. So that was very thoughtful and touching. It was more, you know, more than a testimonial letter or more than something official. That's nice, because that means you really appreciated the work I did over the last 2 years. And I'd been interviewing him for the last 10 years, so 8 years previous to that, but I was working under him officially for the last 2.5 years. So that was really touching. Back to Don Charles, I was saying though, he was the first interview that I did, and he's been a great mentor to me actually. So a big shout out to Don Charles, a really respected guy in the industry as well. And then the last 10 years has just been a well-written place I've been to. Russia, I'm going to quickly talk about that actually. That was very eye-opening. I went for Kovalev v Yard. Anthony Yard nearly successful in Russia, should have been. We went to Chelyabinsk. I never even heard of Chelyabinsk before I went there. I knew of Moscow and St. Petersburg, never heard of this place. So everyone before was telling me like, you know, be careful, be vigilant. Some people saying don't go. And I have not had a more smooth experience anywhere in the world. Probably the other place I've had as smooth experience with hospitality, with sort of welcomingness, feeling at ease, was Kazakhstan. I went to Astana and Almaty several times. There was a lot of shows there. That was also a brilliant experience, Kazakhstan. A bit more vibrant. This place in Russia was very, you know, it was quite mellow. but not once did I feel unsafe. And look, I was only there a week, so it's not like I lived there for a year.
Right.
So got to put that into perspective. But the vibe I picked up as soon as I landed, very welcoming people. We had a great time there. So that was an experience that sticks out on me. All the trips to Las Vegas, New York, I did a lot. I think it was the most visited place I went was Las Vegas. Actually, maybe Riyadh after the recent surge of boxing in Saudi. Maybe that just trumped it. But Vegas was incredible. So I had some amazing fight nights I covered there. New York, the same. Then Riyadh more recently, it's become the hub of boxing. Riyadh's a beautiful place. It's so advanced. Okay, so I can't give the guidelines for everyone because obviously some people are going to have kids, some people are married. I'm talking more perspective of a single person, male or female. This advice would probably go to specifically people from the UK, but again, across Europe, if you're coming from America, wherever, it doesn't hugely make a difference. My advice would be go to JVC because it's got enough vibrancy, but also has that calmness element of where you can feel settled and really live, and gives you a sense of comfort, I'd say, in Dubai that perhaps Marina or downtown wouldn't. Now, some people might come here and prefer a Marina downtown. I stayed short term in a Marina and I really enjoyed it, but that was for 3 weeks and it was probably enough by then because I felt I was in a little bit of holiday mode. When you came out around Marina, it was full of tourists, it was really busy, a lot of traffic. I just didn't feel fully settled. Now, some people might be more attracted to that, or downtown or Business Bay, etc. It's up to you. But for me, JVC provides a really good value of price for your apartments, new builds, a calmness, and it's still got a bit of nightlife. It's got Circle Mall very close. It's got everything really, JVC. Now, there is a big issue of traffic in JVC, which is quite infamous. I'm very lucky. I live at the start of the entrance of JVC. So I do have one pain point, but I'm at the start. So I just literally sit in traffic for a bit and then come out. If you are in the inner bits, you might suffer traffic at peak times, but if you time it accordingly and don't come through at 5 or 6 o'clock or don't leave at 7 or 8 in the morning, you'll be okay. Look, I've been here for a month, so this is what other people have told me as well. That is the negative, I suppose, with JVC, the traffic, but there's traffic everywhere in Dubai and not everything is going to tick every single box. So JVC ticks most of my boxes. New build, good value for money, good vibrancy around, but still enough calmness, and it feels like a place where you can call home. Whereas for me, Marina and downtown Business Bay, it'd be a bit more difficult. It's too hustle and bustle. Yeah, so I was lucky to get my residence visa and Emirates ID within 3 weeks of being here, which was a massive help. It does usually take a bit longer. However, if your company can process it within an express method, then that's what I had, and I got it in 3 weeks. So I was very grateful for that, because that really helps your process. Because once you got your Emirates ID, you can get your long-term apartment, you can open up a bank account, just basically function. The process isn't as daunting or bureaucratic as one may think. Like, there are things to do, but it's not as stressful, as bad as you may read online. It is quite a straightforward process in terms of the steps of it. And I've just noticed our guys here, so we'll pick this back up.
Yeah.
So essentially, this channel, this YouTube channel that I'm launching, is a lifestyle channel, something different for the fighters and the other guests that come on. But yeah, the core basis of this is a luxury lifestyle channel based in Dubai for now. We might go global in the years to come, who knows? So have I ever been starstruck by a fighter in my 10 years in boxing? Good question, and I actually have. It's not the obvious ones you might, well, it's quite an obvious one actually, I guess, but you might think maybe Mike Tyson, Sugar Ray Leonard, Evander Holyfield, all these guys I've interviewed and come across. But it's actually someone from more recent times, Canelo Alvarez. I experienced something quite strange the first time I interviewed Canelo Alvarez. It was Canelo Kovalev. It was in Las Vegas. It's the first time I'd been around Canelo. He was doing a lot of Mexican media and then American media, and then I was up next. I think I was the only sort of British media in that queue. But it was all very formal, like it was all lined up in different rooms. a kind of like one big room, but then different pillars in between. And anyways, he came up behind, well, he walked into our bit, my bit. I was facing the other way, and he kind of said something in English. I think he actually said this interview in English, and I turned around, it was Canelo, and it was just him at that point. The translator came in like a few seconds after, but he had this aura around him, which was something I hadn't experienced with any other fighter. And I'd been, you know, working with the top level fighters for quite some time till this point, but his aura, his demeanor, everything about him, he was just struck superstar. It wasn't an arrogance thing, or he wasn't out of order or anything. He was just, he didn't even say anything much. I just felt it. It was like a real superstar had walked into the building, which obviously he is, but it's the first time I felt a real presence of someone like you were in the presence of greatness. So that was an interesting experience. I was a little bit starstruck. I mean, I held myself fine in the interview, but I was a little bit taken aback because Canelo had something about him which I've not come across with other fighters yet. And in terms of my experiences in America, they were the most enjoyable days. Like, don't get me wrong, Riyadh's been phenomenal going there. You know, the place I mentioned before, like Russia, Kazakhstan, Poland, Latvia, all these sort of places that I would never have dreamt of going before without boxing. But my time in America, going back and forth to New York, Las Vegas, had a trip to Miami, which was amazing for Trevor Bryan v Daniel Dubois, Don King show. The roof was leaking. It was an interesting experience in Miami. But for me, Las Vegas, New York, going there back and forth was incredible. Some of the fights I covered in Vegas especially. Wilder Ortiz 2 sticks out. Deontay Wilder was getting battered really for six or seven rounds, and then just produced a knockout from hell. Literally landed one shot in the whole fight and it was all over. That sticks out. Canelo Kovalev, Canelo's first fight at light heavyweight, him stopping Kovalev in the MGM Garden Arena, Grand Garden Arena. That was memorable. Fury Wallin on Mexican Independence weekend. He's done a few other Canelo fights in Vegas, I think. And then New York, incredible as well. Madison Square Garden. Andy Ruiz Joshua was a one that's vivid to me for obvious reasons. Actually interviewed, as soon as Andy Ruiz came out the ring and did his initial interviews, the first person that interviewed him afterwards was me, which is quite that was a big moment for me, because the first Mexican heavyweight champion in the world, Andy Ruiz, and might only be the ever, who knows, Mexico don't really produce heavyweights, and obviously for the reasons on that night, it was a big shock, Ruiz becoming world champion against Joshua, unified world champion, first person to speak to. And in fact, when Ruiz was about to do the interview with me, Al Heyman called him, so I actually heard Al Heyman's voice, which was surreal as well in itself. There's one person in boxing I've never met or come across, like many, Al Heyman. New York, in terms of others, New York, Golovkin, Derevyanchenko sticks out in the big arena again, one of the best fights I've ever seen, arguably, and Golovkin's one of my favourite fighters, but I think Derevyanchenko, for me, nicked that fight. A lot of people ringside had that for Derevyanchenko as well. And then something else that sticks out was in the theatre, in the small room, but Lopez v Kambosos Jr. Kambosos Jr. obviously shocking Teofimo Lopez that night. And there's been so much more in between New York. Amir Khan going up against Terence Crawford. That was my first fight in America. Watching Terence live was incredible. Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez were just coming through the ranks in their careers. That was on the undercard. They were both on the undercard. So seeing that all the first time in New York was surreal. But yeah, America was unbelievable to me. The craziest experience I've ever had was in Riyadh, October 23, I want to say. It was the first Riyadh season fight. It was Fury and Ngannou. And there was a gala dinner on the Friday night. Gala dinner doesn't do it justice. I still think about that night and think it wasn't real. It felt like a movie, a dream. It felt fake. So yeah, just to give a bit of context, I was sat one table away having dinner but on the opposite table to Mike Tyson, which was, as I said, that was surreal. But what was even more surreal is that in the room was Cristiano Ronaldo, Eminem, Ronaldo as in the actual Ronaldo, the original Ronaldo, Brazil Ronaldo. I actually got a photo with him as well. I mean, you had to. The original Ronaldo, the Cristiano Ronaldo and Eminem. I tried to I looked over to try and get to that table, but it was heavily guarded. That was one table that was pretty inaccessible. I'm not surprised. They had Cristiano Ronaldo and Eminem on it. But we're just all in the same room having dinner at this gala event. It was surreal. Sugar Ray Leonard was there. Got a photo of him. Roberto Duran was there. Got a photo of him. I was more in awe of that, actually, Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran. That's because I think one of the best eras in boxing was that era of Leonard, Hagler, Hearns, Duran. And I interviewed Leonard and Duran that night, and for me it was the first time doing either, interviewing them, and for me that was quite a milestone, to be quite honest, because those two guys had not been around in boxing really before, in terms of Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran, two icons. And so the room was just incredible that night. His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh, it was his event, he was obviously in the room. But yeah, to be around sort of the two Ronaldos, Eminem, Sugar Ray, Roberto Duran, Francesco Totti was in there. Like, just, it was surreal. And then all the fighters I know, like the fighters I interact with, Amir Khan, Tyson Fury was in there, and all the big names from boxing. It was just it was a crazy experience. So yeah, firstly, it was genuinely, don't like to say it lightly, it was an honour, because he's a Hall of Fame promoter, has been in the business for 47 years. Like, thinking about boxing with no Frank Warren is a strange thought, and I think that says everything. Frank Warren and boxing go hand in hand, especially in Britain, where he revamped the whole sport, you know, breaking through the cartel and getting boxing on live TV. Essentially, that was all down to him. All the glitz and glamour you see with the ring girls and the music, Frank Warren brought that in. And, you know, someone's in business for 40 years from a professional point of view, and I think he was 7 years in sort of the white collar scene. That speaks volumes. You don't last 4 decades in a business if you're doing something wrong. You know, he gets most things right, and you see that with the fighters he's developed across the years. You know, the likes of Joe Calzaghe, Ricky Hatton, Amir Khan, more recently Tyson Fury, Daniel Dubois, Moses Atalma is coming through now, Hamza Shiraz. He's worked with some real legends. I didn't even mention Prince Nassim Hamed at the start of there. Frank Bruno. I mean, just a dynasty of fighters and legends he's built from the ground up and developed. So working for him was a real honour. I was very fortunate in that my time before working for BoxNation, Frank Warren, at IFL TV, I developed a really good rapport with him. I'd interview him once, maybe twice a week. I've done that for about 10 years. So the most person I spoke to was Frank Warren for the last decade, really. But then working for him the last 2.5 years was a real privilege and was the best time I've had in my career. You know, I wish obviously Queensberry and Frank nothing but the best moving forwards, and they will be operating at the level that they've always done, because for me they are the best in the business at what they do, especially in the UK. So London will always be home. When I was growing up, London was the best city in the world as a kid. I had like good experiences. Nothing actually really bad happened personally. I just felt a shift in vibe, in mood, in happiness, in opportunity within the city. I'm sure other people are going through it as well. Some people might be more than happy in London or in the UK. But for me, so stripping it back to when I was young, and not even too long ago, just like before COVID, like 4 or 5 years ago, London was still top. But it was getting progressively a little bit worse by worse. And then suddenly the last couple of years, I felt it's just gone like really bad, like that, on a massive decline rapidly. It doesn't feel like the prosperous place it once was. In fact, it feels the opposite. It's quite negative. It might be a strong word, a bit suppressive in a way, actually, which you never thought you'd associate it with London or England or the UK. I think it's actually for, you were looking at the Museum of the Future?
Yeah, get in the shot.
We were, where were we? So yeah, actually in terms of Western Europe itself, when you look at Paris, London, Berlin, you know, England, France, Germany, you can probably add Spain into that mix. But specifically with England, France and Germany, like when you think of that, the 3 dominant forces in Western Europe, right, always have been, should be the most prominent, powerful countries in Europe and some of in the world, and excluding America, should be in the world, right? Given the history, the resources, and the still financial capabilities of those countries. But it just seems, well, I can speak from experience in terms of the UK, and with France and Germany, seems like the same thing is happening there, where society's going, it's stagnating, if not going backwards. Whereas the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, obviously I've been there loads, Dubai, I've not been there, but Singapore seems, from what everyone's saying, similar to Dubai in terms of the progression it's having. Again, look, I can't comment too much with expertise. I've not lived in America. America seems also to be kind of not prospering as it once used to be, but not at the same rate, certainly, as Western Europe, not at the same rate as the UK, Germany or France. America seems to still, from the outside looking in, be still a good place to live. And somewhere that's trying to strive and progress. But the progression of the Middle East, specifically Dubai, Qatar, Saudi, Bahrain, and a couple of these places I've not been, it's just from what I'm hearing, and it's clear from looking at things on the internet, and my experiences in Dubai and Saudi, this place is on, or these regions are on an upward trajectory, and that's where I want to be. And I'm sure a lot of people like-minded, like myself, similar age, similar ambitions, similar point in life, would want to put themselves in that environment rather than the UK, France, Germany, etc. currently, which used to be the dominating countries. It was sort of in my thought process to maybe look at moving to Riyadh. But with Dubai, I've been here, I've been to Riyadh a lot for work. I've been here for holiday and work, and there's a fair few people I know here as well from back in London, who moved here quite a long time ago. And, it's got a real mix of people from all over the world, specifically from the UK. Now, Riyadh has as well. I think the demographic, though, in terms of Riyadh's more attracting are like 40, 50-year-olds, rather than here, which is more 20, 30-year-olds. Statistically, I might be all over the place with that, but that's just the impression I've got. And I think that's correct. Dubai is more vibrant. I think for a younger person is the ideal place to be. It has a mix of everything. And if there was one place I was going to move, it was always going to be Dubai. I've always kind of left DXB airport sad, genuinely. Like, returning back to London wasn't great. So actually, when you think about it properly, why don't you just move here? If you keep going there and you're kind of like not looking forward to going back, no reason not for me to base myself. I'm single, no kids, no property back home in the UK. Well, no responsibilities in that front. So this was the right time to do it, surely. And also I want to add, I never wanted to move out of London when I was a kid, even 5-6 years ago. Don't get me wrong, I had thoughts about Dubai and other places, America, not really, but America was amazing. To live there, probably not. Dubai is, only a 6-hour flight. Lots of Brits here, lots of nationalities here. But for me, I think the important point was here as well. It was never to exit out the UK or London. As I said, I was more than happy there. It was a great city. I did want to, do as much traveling, maybe live for 3 months somewhere, a point, or a year tops. But London was always going to be home. Now it's more a case of, I might return back to London for a couple of weeks, a month to visit, but this is where I want to base myself, in Dubai. I think it's the way Saudi is progressing. Specifically, I can only talk about Riyadh, because I've been very fortunate enough to be involved in the events with Riyadh season, the stuff His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh's been putting on, and it's amazing. Riyadh's an amazing city. So that might be something for the future, but definitely in my next 10, 20 years, this is where I want to base myself, in Dubai. I think long term, this is really getting deep now, but even further than that, when I'm an old man, this city is very hustle and bustle. So maybe after 55, 60, it might not be the ideal place then. I think I'd look at Marbella or somewhere in Spain. I don't mean the party bit of Maybach as a retired person. I mean more like the quiet bits. I think that would be quite attractive to me. Spain, Portugal, when I'm older. But for the 20s, 30s, 40s, Dubai, yeah, for sure. I had a conversation in around October, so October 25, so not long ago. And from there, the ball started rolling. So it gave me 3 months and a couple of weeks before I actually landed here, which was a perfect time process to get everything done, because there are things you need to do before you come here. Work letters, like offer letters, visas, bank accounts, all like bureaucratic stuff that needs planning, your short-term apartment or hotel before you move into your long-term, all this stuff needs to be planned. So 3 months was plenty. But once it kind of occurred to me in October, and I had the phone call. I don't really want to go too much into the phone call, but phone call kind of, it wasn't long. It lasted about 3 minutes. One person put me in touch with someone else. And then once that was solidified, my mind was made up. Because for the last 2 years, Dubai was strongly on my mind, but didn't have anything here at this point. And also boxing was holding me back probably from doing it, making the leap towards Dubai. And if you think about 2.5 years ago when I was thinking about Dubai, when I just joined BoxNation with Frank Warren. So that was like a new chapter in my career life for me. So at that point, it wasn't the right time. So yeah. Okay, so the stereotype about London, luckily I've not experienced it in terms of random knife attacks or sort of any sort of threatening violence to you randomly. Again, I'm not condoning gang violence or anything like that, but there's a difference between that and someone just walking down the street, a mother and a child, and they get an attack for no reason, or your watch getting snatched. I mean, I don't even wear these kind of watches in London. So the stereotype, even though I haven't experienced it, is true. You see it all over the news all the time, and it's just like, next what goes on is the weather, and then the results from the Premier League. It's that sort of ingrained in society now, which is obviously not a very good place to be.
Right.
Far from it. London.
But that's not why you left.
But I mean, don't get me wrong, the security that Dubai provides you in terms of, nothing's ever guaranteed in life, but it's literally 99.999%. Nothing will happen to you here. Again, you can't guarantee anything in life, but it's the safest city. I think Abu Dhabi is actually rated the safest in the world.
Correct.
And then I'm guessing Dubai is straight behind it.
Ajman then Dubai.
Ajman then Dubai. Okay, so
All you eat.
So for me, it's obviously it's an amazing luxury to have in terms of you can walk at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning and nothing will happen. You can walk at midday, nothing will happen. You can have, not that I have, but if you had $5 million in your jacket, nothing would happen. You can have a £100,000 watch on you, nothing will happen. Whereas in London, I wouldn't wear a watch out. I'd wear like a £200 watch out. I would put my phone in my pocket all the time. I'd be checking my left and right shoulder. I don't know, in a city that should be the greatest city in the world, that or New York, and used to be, it shouldn't really be the case for its citizens, especially when you're paying 40% tax. I mean, then what are Keir Starmer and Sadiq Khan doing? And it's just not them. It is the people in charge before as well. It probably goes above that. I'm not going to get into that conversation. That's way above me, and that's a different whole conversation there. But the stereotype about Dubai, incorrect. I'll be completely honest. I have come here to live that life in terms of the luxury life and go to the nice places and have that freedom to not kind of check your bank account and go wherever. But that's what predominantly people would come here for, because you can live a great life in terms of the restaurants, the entertainment, the sort of beach clubs, everything. This city has literally everything. There's not one thing this city doesn't have, apart from lack of traffic. Traffic is horrendous, but you have to navigate that. So the stereotype isn't true, because you can also come to Dubai and just live a very sort of mundane life if you wanted to. I guess the normal sort of the average sort of person, if we're talking percentages, wouldn't do that and doesn't come here for that. But if you wanted to do that and just live tucked away and live a life on a basic salary, of course you can do that. That is a thing here. That is realistic. Some people do that. So the stereotype, to answer the question actually about Dubai, isn't true. It definitely exists, but it's not that be or end all. And for me, the London stereotype, what people are saying outside of the UK, clearly, like you just asked me, is true, unfortunately. As I said, it was never my intention to leave London. I always wanted to live there. But when you put together the lack of ambition within society, the lack of opportunities compared to places like here, the horrendous attacks, random attacks, and luckily, thanks to God, I never had to endure any of that. I've got out of that before anything like that happened. You had the tax, the miserable weather. It's a real shame. It actually makes me sad because London does have some incredible things in terms of when it comes to live sport. You know, some of the best fights I've covered have been in London. The O2 is like one of the best boxing arenas. In fact, to watch a fight, I'd say the O2 is the best boxing arena. Doesn't obviously have the history of the MGM Grand Garden in Las Vegas or the Madison Square Garden in New York, of course not, but it is a beautiful arena. And then I'm a big Chelsea fan. I used to go to Stamford Bridge a lot since a kid. Whenever I wasn't working in boxing, I'd go to Stamford Bridge. That's a real shame that I won't get that live experience. Obviously, it's great you can watch all the games here and you get the 3 o'clock kickoffs back home. You get them live here at 7 o'clock. Like, I'll miss that. So sporting wise, there's some unbelievable, for food, I've traveled everywhere, like America, all over Europe, Dubai. In Dubai, food, restaurants is unbelievable. You get anything here in the world. I'd say London just edges it. The restaurants and food there is incredible. Like, you can get anything within central London. Restaurants are incredible. The live sports are incredible. Obviously, it has a rich history. You know, when you look at Big Ben and all the Buckingham Palace, it's got everything. It's just collapsed, literally, and it's getting worse. But those aspects I'll miss, but I'd rather all the positives here combined to at the moment, the small few positives in London. Okay, so I thought it was important to sit down and address what's gone on recently to give more context to and more clarity to the video that you're watching now, because obviously till then that was shot before everything that's gone on in the GCC nations, in the UAE specifically, where I am, of course. So just to provide context, it's Thursday the 5th of March that we're now shooting this on. So this has been going on, the situation in the Gulf nations, since Saturday. So nearly a week now, this conflict started with Iran and the US. So I'm just going to give my timeline and version of events of what I've experienced in the last few days. As I said, it started on the Saturday, which was the only day which had a little bit of fear around it. Since then, it's been absolutely fine. It's been normal life, to be quite honest. The Saturday was a different experience. I'm sure many expats and people, you know, citizens, residents of the United Arab Emirates felt, because I was in JVC at my apartment. I was actually going to go and meet some friends on the Palm who are over from London, who are staying in the Marriott Hotel, which is next to Fairmont, which obviously got hit. I was just about to leave my apartment, and then I did hear some very loud noises. Prior to that, I did get a call from my friend saying, do not come to the Palm, etc. And I thought he was just winding me up, because we had seen the UAE American base, which is in Abu Dhabi, had been hit earlier that day. But till then, sort of, yeah, since that happened, nothing had gone on. The US base in Abu Dhabi got hit, but it was an attack on a US asset. So, you know, everything was actually pretty calm, especially in Dubai. There were people talking about it, but there wasn't any fear. And then the situation on the Palm happened. I wasn't aware because my friend called me instantly. I thought it was a wind up. I then hadn't checked my phone until this point. I then did hear some very loud noises where I was in JVC. Obviously, this was a daunting experience because I've never heard sort of noises, loud noise, explosions like that. In my head, I thought we were getting bombed by Iran on the ground in JVC. That's what it sounded like. The walls were shaking, the whole building was shaking, and there was constantly loud noises. Then one of my friends who lives in JVC said he'd pick me up and bring me to his, just because I'm on my own, which was very good of him. So big shout out to him. And then, you know, quite quickly we learned what actually was going on. these missiles and attacks from Iran were actually just being intercepted in the air, and that's what those loud explosions was. So for someone from Britain or someone from a country not used to explosions, of course there are a lot of people from Lebanon, from other Arab countries who are now based in Dubai. There's a lot of Ukrainians here who are used to these noises and probably know what these noises are. But for us, we didn't know what these noises were. And then when we found out, it was a big relief. They were just all being intercepted in the air, and we weren't being blitzed across the ground. The loud explosions carried on throughout the night, Saturday night. Of course, the airport got struck, and the leader, the previous leader of the regime in Iran, got assassinated, died. So there was a lot going on in that time. So Saturday night was still an unknown quantity in what to expect here. But genuinely waking up Sunday morning onwards, the leadership that the UAE have provided has been incredible. You know, with the alerts we've had, and most of them have just been, you know, carry on with your day, everything is fine, reassuring us. There was one alert I received on my phone on that Saturday night where it said just seek shelter. That was moments after the airport got struck, and I believe people in Abu Dhabi got 2 or 3 of those alerts. I've only had one. A lot of people in Dubai from Saturday till Thursday, where I'm speaking now, I've only had one. But as I said, Sunday, everything, you know, was calm in a sense that, of course, we still heard explosions. We still are hearing explosions, but they really quietened it down. And we're fully aware of what those noises are. And the uncomfortable thing, I think, for people outside of the UAE is that, you know, everyone talks about how safe Dubai is on the ground, which is facts. It's the 3rd safest city in the world, behind 2 other cities which are located in the UAE, Abu Dhabi and Ajman. And that is just fact. When it comes onto the ground, the UAE is 99.99% safe in terms of robberies, stabbings, just crime on the ground. Now, in terms of explosions and attacks coming from Iran, this isn't sort of a new territory. I would have no idea, as many other Brits and expats living here, about the safety in the air. We wouldn't have a clue. I think that's what's been difficult for people to deal with, and a bit uncomfortable for Western media having a field day with this, that not only on the ground is the UAE completely safe, but is in the air. I think the UAE defense system in the air have been nothing short of remarkable. So not only are we only safe on the ground always, but when a country does decide to chuck missiles and drones at you, we're completely safe because we've got a shield around us, essentially, with some of the best, if not the best, defensive security in the air across the UAE. And this has given us so much reassurance, calmness. We've been able to sleep at night easy. We've been able to go about our days easy. There are people partying on the Palm. There's kids and families going to parks. The leader of this country was in the Dubai Mall, just swanning around. Could you imagine Keir Starmer just going around a shopping mall in central London just on a normal day? He'd get a lot of stick, whereas the leader here was just walking around Dubai Mall in a supposed war zone. It is totally not that. Of course, the US consulate has been hit here. The US airbase was hit here. The airport was a hit here as well. And of course, the Fairmont was hit, but that was debris falling onto the hotel. It wasn't a direct attack. There is a big difference with debris falling from an intercepted missile rather than a missile or drone flying into a location to attack and harm civilians. You know, a big thanks to all the Noon drivers, Talabat drivers, Kareem drivers, Uber drivers here, who are just carrying on, and the delivery guys, you know, as they were before. But they're doing that because everything is normal here on the ground. And the reassurance we've got from the authorities here in Dubai, and of course the leadership, as I said, who were walking around Dubai Mall a couple of days ago, has given everyone a sense of security, real security, and an ability to just get on with their day-to-day lives. That really further strengthens my point on coming here for safety. As I said, it's always been safe on the ground here and remains to be. But now, even with a country attacking you via missiles and drones, we remain safe because we have got the best leadership in the world looking after us. And I think we should all be very thankful and blessed, everyone here, whether you're on holiday, expats living here, or Emiratis themselves, that we have got that security and safety from the leadership. And of course, I know a lot of people here are on holiday and traveling here and don't live here. They would have been in fear about this, but they've been given extensions on their hotels for free. Obviously, they're secure on the ground with everything being intercepted above. And I can testify that with my friends who are here staying on the Palm, they've been given an extension to their stay here for free by the UAE government. So yeah, everything's good here. Don't believe the news, it's far from it. I'm sure they're painting a picture where Dubai is falling and it's burning to the ground. Everything is literally fine here. Everyone's going about their day. Downtown last night was heaving and everyone feels at peace and at ease, and it just shows the strength and unity of this country.